Industrial Defender's Automation Systems Manager includes a broad range of new capabilities, including asset management, configuration management, and other change management features. Today, we'd like to show you a quick demonstration of how the asset management capabilities enable you to manage your configurations more appropriately, which will therefore help you keep your systems patched, secure, and within compliance regimes.
So what we're looking at now is the dashboard of the Automation Systems Manager. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few quick use cases showing how knowing everything that's configured on each of the assets in your environment could help you manage change and make sure your devices are secure. So the first thing I want to do is I actually want to look at the overall asset list for this environment. So if I go to Asset Administration, we're looking at all of the assets I have deployed in this environment. For each of these assets, regardless of type, whether they be Windows, Linux, HPUX, AIX, switches, routers, there's a subset of information that we're going to collect and normalize for all of these devices. That includes what software and patches are deployed, which firewall rules are open, what user accounts are set up, etc. Because we're collecting all of this data for these devices, we're able to query this data and find information about these systems that could be a security concern. We're going to go over two specific use cases regarding that configuration data querying. The first is to look for dangerous ports that may be open on some of the systems in your environment. Because we know every port that's open on every system in the environment, we can quickly identify where potentially dangerous ports are open in your control system environment. One example of one of those dangerous ports could be if port 80 was open. That's the web browser port. Typically, you'd want to use 443 to make sure that data is encrypted, but that's not always a possibility. Another example could be 445, which is Windows file sharing, and that's the port that was used for the Configure virus spread. Now, just because these ports may be open on the system doesn't make them vulnerable in itself, but that does show that there needs to be other security constraints in place to make sure that these devices cannot be compromised. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a search for just the devices that have open ports 80 and 445 in this demonstration environment. So as we can see, with the real quick click of a few buttons, I have a list of every device in my environment that has one of these ports open. I can quickly filter it so that we can separate it depending upon which port we're searching for. So you can see how quickly we're able to identify every system in the environment that has one of these dangerous ports open. Once again, just having the port open doesn't make the system vulnerable on its own, but it gives you an idea of which devices you need to pay extra security attention to. Another example that we have is a software search. If I go into my software item search, we have several older devices in this environment that are going to be using older versions of software. I know that Microsoft.NET Framework 1.1 is deployed in my environment, and I also know that there was a security patch that came out for that software that is vitally important to make sure that these devices cannot be compromised. So what we're going to do is we're going to search specifically for that Microsoft.NET Framework 1.1. And we're also going to search for the security update that should be deployed to every system that has that software installed. If we run a search for both of those, and then sort it by application, I can real quickly see that I have two devices in my environment that have that Microsoft.NET Framework 1.1 deployed, but I only have one device in the environment that has the security update installed. So I know that I need to go back to that Client 2 machine and install the security update.